Such a mom comment right there. There's a better way.
Without a doubt. I mean, I put so much time and effort into creating the perfect weighted blanket. How we create the blankets hasn't changed.
You don't use the movie theater for nap time?
Right. I think if my kids were younger, I probably would, but now they want to watch like the movies that I want to watch. I'm just as excited as they are.
Today I interviewed Jami Furniss. What a fun interview. She's an entrepreneur, a mother, and a hustler, as she'll refer to. I just love her personality. I love how she does such a great job of taking care of herself and having passions and hobbies and things that she likes to do so that she's always operating from full, whether she's operating in the business environment or at home as a mom. She talks a little bit about setting boundaries when you're hiring companies, when you are coming home from the work role to the mom role, and she just shares lots of little wisdom bits. So listen in and hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I enjoyed having it. All right, friends, today I have Jami Furniss with us. It is so fun because she's in Utah, but there's terrible snow, so we couldn't do this live. So we're still online sharing her story. So thank you for joining us today, Jami.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Okay, so we found you because of the famous Moxie blanket. Okay, so talk to me about the origin of this blanket and all things.
Yeah. So it actually started because my little boy had these like crazy terrible nightmares, and I didn't want to give him Benadryl every night or some sort of sleeping pill or chemical, whatever. So I jumped online, I did a bunch of research, came across weighted blankets, and I was like, well, that's a really interesting concept. So I went out and bought multiple weighted blankets and didn't like them for one reason or another. The material was itchy, they didn't stay in place, they had a duvet cover, they weren't machine washable, there were all these things that I didn't like. So I was like, I can do this better. So I got to work engineering what I felt was the perfect weighted blanket, and it had to have a few requirements. It had to be made in the US, it had to be the softest material on the planet, and it had to be machine washable all one piece, because as busy moms, we don't have time to go to the laundromat or the dry cleaner. I don't want to have to fight with a duvet cover because that's a nightmare. I hate duvet covers. And so there were just, a few little things that I wanted to make sure our blanket covered. So in doing that, I found a manufacturer and had her make me a prototype. And that first night that I brought the blanket home, I had told my little boy that it was magical and that it had been through all sorts of training to protect him from nightmares and creatures under the bed and all these great things, right? That first night he slept was mind-blowing. That was the first time he'd slept through the night in months, years even, because he just had such horrible nightmares. And so at that point I was like, oh man, one, we need to help other parents whose kids are struggling with this, and two, we need to monetize it. So it was at that point that I was like, okay, how are we going to position this? I really liked that my son loved the story behind the blanket, and so he actually helped me write the book that comes with the Monster Protection Academy bundle. And then my daughter actually created the certificate that comes with it. So our Monster Protection Academy line comes with the blanket, the certificate, and the book. And that's how we started. But then I was like, well, I did more research on the blankets, and I was like, these are really amazing. So I think we need to expand more than just Beyond the Kids line. So that's when I implemented our classic line, our Luxie line, and obviously our Monster Protection Academy line. And then I was like, well, we can't be called Monster Protection Academy if we're going to have these other lines. So that's when that's when I switched it over to Moxie blankets. And I started this concept it was August 28th, and then I had everything ready to go by November. I was on a mission.
Wow. I mean, you were definitely on a mission. Wow.
I had all my branding done. I had my website done. I had the shopping cart done. I had product. I had the book print. I mean, everything from start to finish, 100% was ready to go. And it was amazing. And when I tell you I was sleeping for like 2 to 3 hours a night, I was literally sleeping for 2 to 3 hours a night. I just felt so passionate and strongly about how effective weighted blankets can be and how we wanted to help other people that I was so ready. My goal was to be ready by Black Friday. I was ready well ahead of Black Friday, and it was amazing. However, I didn't have any customers because I wasn't doing the marketing for the traction leading up to Black Friday. So it was kind of funny that I was ready for Black Friday, and nobody knew we existed. So it wasn't
right.
Wasn't my favorite Black Friday. However, I have an amazing group around me, so we had a lot of like friends and family that supported our business and purchased. But it was, in my head I was like, yeah, it's gonna be like this amazing Black Friday, and it was not. But we live and we learn, and it's funny because I have such a strong marketing background, but I was so focused on getting everything ready that I just didn't do a whole lot with any marketing. Obviously, since then we've grown and things are in a great trajectory. The creative team I have is mind-blowingly amazing. We just did a small rebrand, and everything is it's really fun because it's very different than my other two companies, and so it's like people always tell me like, you're so busy and you got to watch for burnout. But with 3 very different companies, I'm working in different things all the time. I'm like, dude, I'm good. Like whenever I feel like I'm overly stressed with like the businessy side with the Moxie agency and Moxie blankets, I just go work at the restaurant for a couple days or a couple hours or whatever, and that is completely different. And I get to bake, and I get to see our regulars that come in, and so it's very fun having a diverse portfolio.
Okay, so Moxie kind of started it all, right? Moxie was your first business?
Yeah, the Moxie agency started it. Yep.
And that grew, which I think so much of us find the business or find the path that we're on because of a pain point, right? So that grew out of your pain point of your son needing something to get sleeping through the night. And you researched the blankets and said, nothing on the market's great, so I'm going to do this myself. What mom, right? Such a mom comment right there. There's a better way. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not wrestling duvet covers. Are you kidding me right now? Okay. So then you came out with that. And what I love about the story, which we kind of like sped through a little bit, is you had this original product, and that original product was doing well. And then you said, oh, wait, there's a wider niche for this. There's a different space that we can expand into. And a lot of times I feel like when we're starting something, having that one product that you can kind of like fine tune and figure out and then grow from there allows you like to test things out, make sure things are going the right way, and then add on. And did you find that helpful?
Oh yeah, for sure, without a doubt. I mean, I put so much time and effort and energy into creating what I thought was the perfect weighted blanket. How we create the blankets hasn't changed, but we do our drops of special colors in the spring and in the fall, and so that's been really fun. But as far as evolving the actual product, man, I put so much time and energy into it, and I learned a lot from what other people were doing, right? I didn't need to recreate the wheel. I just needed to make it more effective. And so that's what I felt like I did. How can you really get comfortable if material is itchy? You really can't. So we only use the best non-shedding minky material. I'm so lucky to have found this vendor. They're amazing, and you get that blanket on and you just cuddle right up, and I tell everybody it's like voodoo magic. It really, really is, because you just instantly calm down and relax, and gosh, so grateful that I came across weighted blankets in my research of trying to help my little boy. Well, he's not that little anymore. He's 12 and 5'8".
Yeah. They gigantic. Don't stay little forever.
Yeah.
No, they don't. Okay, so when you, there's different weights too to weighted blankets, right? Like depending. So what's the differences in the weights, and why is that important?
Okay, so if you buy a weighted blanket and it's too heavy, you will hate it. You will think it's worthless, and it will probably end up thrown in the corner in your room, and you won't do anything with it. So the weight is getting the right weight is crucial. We actually only go up to 15 pounds. I know there's other companies that you can go up to 20, 25, and they make like king size ones, but really you want that weighted blanket. You want to be super selfish with it. You want to be stingy because you want all that weight for yourself. So you want it to go shoulders to toes and side to side, and because you want all of that weight on you. If the blanket's too big, then you're not getting the full benefits of the weight, right? So we typically say adults 10 to 15 pounds, and then our kids will do 5 to 7 pounds. So like for me, I like to use a 10 pound, and that's pretty much my max. I don't like to go over that. But my daughter, who's 18, she loves the 15 pound, and that works really, really well for her. She's, she's, that kid's freaking smart, man. And she's very studious and very, driven by school, and she's also an athlete. So she's very hard on her body and her mind. So that 15 pounds is fantastic. For her.
And do people use them? I know they're a big grounding piece, right? That just helps people feel secure and grounded, and all the stimulation that we have nowadays. I can imagine all of us need a weighted blanket. Is it mainly for sleeping at night, or do sometimes people use them throughout the day for 5 to 10 minutes just to get calmed and centered again?
Yep, absolutely. They have a huge grounding factor, and they're amazing for meditation. The first time I used it, when I was meditating, it was like I sunk into such a deep meditation. It was wild. And I'm not like some hardcore meditation person. I like to do it because it helps me feel centered and relaxed and, all the good things. But when the first time I used it with the weighted blanket, I was like, what just happened? It was mind-blowing. It was so cool. And I was able to just sink into such a deep state of relaxation that that doesn't happen every time I meditate with a weighted blanket, but it does happen sometimes. And when it does, it's out of this world. It's so cool. But for a lot of people, they'll use it for stress and anxiety. If I'm feeling very overwhelmed with work, I always have a weighted blanket in my office, and I'll just throw it over my legs in my lap and just give myself, 5-10 minutes to just decompress and tell myself that I'm okay, that I'm still awesome, even though I'm struggling, everything's going to be okay, and work through that. They're also great for restless leg syndrome, and I get crazy restless leg syndrome. I used to go to the movies with my kids, and I'd have to get up and walk around because my legs would be going crazy. And now, especially with the theaters with the recliners, oh my goodness. My only problem now is trying to stay awake because I get so relaxed in the recliner and my weighted blanket.
Wait. You don't use the movie theater for nap time? I mean, come on. I go to the movies with my kids because I'm like, oh, that's 2 hours that I get a nap in. This is fantastic.
Right. I think if my kids were younger, I probably would, but now they want to watch like the movies that I want to watch. Like I can't wait for the new Guardians of the Galaxy to come out. Like I'm just as excited as they are. So, I don't have to sit through some of the not as entertaining. Yeah,
you're past that stage. Lucky. Okay, so one thing that you hit on was when you were ready for the first Black Friday, but sales did not come in like you expected. You were so busy working on the product that the marketing and ramping that piece up was left to the table and didn't really come through. How did you stay positive, and how did you say like, oh, here's the learning, here's what I'm doing differently? Because sometimes people would get discouraged in that spot, and obviously you didn't. So share how that worked out for you.
Right. Absolutely. And fortunately for me, it was an easy pivot because I knew exactly what I didn't do. I knew what I had done wrong. So it was easy to jump right. Well, I wouldn't say easy, but it was doable, right? Because being an entrepreneur, nothing's really easy. But it was the struggle came from, okay, I have this amount of money to spend on marketing. What's going to give me the biggest bang for the buck, and how am I going to do this, fast and effective? So I had, with the Moxie agency, which is an agency, we specialize in SEO. So I knew I had that covered. That wasn't going to be a problem. That was going to be fine. But I didn't have like an overwhelmingly strong background in ad spend, and it changes so rapidly. Facebook is always making changes, and Google is always making changes. So that's something that I had to ramp up on very quickly. And there's one thing that I have learned the hard way multiple times as a business owner is it's way more cost effective to hire a professional to do what you can't, because it's going to say in the long run, it's going to save you money, and it's going to save you a ton of headache and trial and error, right? It can be really scary to sign a contract for $5,000 a month when you're brand new and you're trusting somebody. But if you do your due diligence, it's 9 times out of 10 it's worth it, right? There are people who really just want to take your money and make big promises. And unfortunately, I did learn the hard way with that a couple times. And that was some heartache I had to work through or whatever. But I learned from it. I grew from it. And now when I'm hiring a third-party company, I know what to look for. And those types of situations are hard. It's something that you really have to grow through. I can say it all day long, but until you actually go through it, it's hard to really know who to work with.
What is some of the screening criteria now that you use that you maybe didn't use in the beginning that you've learned?
I always ask for referrals, and I always call those referrals. I want real world proof that you can do what you're saying. And I rely heavily on Google reviews. For me, if I am looking at a company and they don't have any Google reviews at all, that's a huge red flag for me, because Google anybody can go and make that review. And you have to take some of those reviews with a grain of salt, because sometimes people get mad or upset and they write things they don't mean in the heat of the moment or whatnot. But if they have zero Google reviews, then I likely won't do business with them. But if they have great reviews, then obviously that's a huge plus for them. And really, I want to call their references, and I want to see their work. I ask for case studies, especially if it's a larger contract that I'm agreeing to month for a year or however long. And it's it's hard, and it can be really challenging finding the right people to work with. But a lot of things I've started to hire in-house for, and that's been great. But I mean, it's hard to find good people as well. So it's a gamble either way. But I just figure, trust your gut, because that'll usually won't lead you astray.
How long will you go with, so say you're in a relationship business-wise and it's not working out quite like you had anticipated. How long do you normally go before you're like, okay, we're not hitting these numbers, we're not doing this, it's time to cut? What does your exit look like when something isn't working out?
I like to give people at least 3 months. Because I know there's a ramp time. I get that. And it doesn't always... It's not always a quick ramp. So I don't want to, pull the plug on something that I feel like could be effective in 30 days. I don't think 30 days is enough time. So it's always a 90-day period of, okay, what can we accomplish in that 90 days? And I always want to make sure that I'm very quick to get them the information that they need, so they're never waiting on me. Because if they're waiting on me, I'm wasting money and wasting time, and that's not effective for anybody.
So 90 days is a typical ramp up, making sure there always has material that they need from you, and you set goals for that 90-day period, so then everybody's aware of whether they're hitting them or not.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We definitely want to know what the KPIs are at all times, and we'll set those up before we even sign the contract and make sure that everybody's clear what the expectations are. I just feel like, hurt me with the truth, don't hurt me with a lie, because that is, one of the worst things you can do. Don't make me feel like you're doing all these wonderful, amazing things that aren't going to turn an ROI, right? Because in the end, I'm going to find out, and I'm putting all this time and energy into something that's never going to work. So that is one of the first things I always will tell people when I'm working with them is just, rip the Band-Aid off, man. Just hurt me with the truth, don't hurt me with a lie.
I like that. And I like that you have clear, defined goals for the 90 days. So everybody's on the same page and you're tracking success on ROI, right? I mean, it's salespeople to me, they can sell me. And I'm in sales and I get all the good feels and all the things. And then I'm like, give me numbers. I need hard, concrete numbers, because this isn't a fuzzy wuzzy relationship. This is a business relationship that needs results. The fuzzy wuzzy is a bonus. It's not in lieu of. So
yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of the times people try to push that personal touch and that personal relationship so hard because they know that it's going to be lacking. They're not going to get you the results that you may necessarily need or want or expect. And that's really hard because then you feel like, we've created this friendship, but this is my business, and in that type of situation or relationship, your business should always come first. If they tell you that X, Y, and Z is going to get done, then you should absolutely expect X, Y, and Z to get done.
Have you ever had the experience where you've hired somebody that is a friend and it's been difficult because of expectations not being met? Or have you pretty much hired people that you don't have a relationship with first?
I have always hired people that I don't have a strong relationship with first, with the exception of my creative team now. I knew the owner previous, and we'd had multiple conversations on how we could work together, but it probably took about a year before I was like, okay, let's pull the trigger. Let's do this. And it's been amazing. It has absolutely been amazing. But I think it speaks a lot to him and his character. And that's why I felt so comfortable. I mean, we'd had multiple conversations before I was like, okay, let's do this. And I went into his office and had a meeting with his team, and I was like in love and immediately. Like there was no question. Not because I knew them or that I felt like, oh my gosh, these people are amazing, but they are, don't get me wrong. But their work that they showed me was mind-blowing. I mean, mind-blowing. I knew right away that that was the team that I needed to work with. And oh man, it's been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
That's awesome. No, and I share this just because even for me with the business that I own, I am way more slow to hire somebody that I know because I have that relationship already. And when I share this story, it just helps, I think, others understand that people that are closest to you might support you, but might not be that business relationship support right away because they value your personal relationship so much. And it's very hard to untangle the two once the two of them get blended together. So that slow to hire, fast to like fire concept really plays into when you have a personal relationship first. So that's just interesting to hear your take on that too. You run 3 businesses, right? So talk about the 3 businesses and how you manage your time between the 3 of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have my first company that I started, well, not that I started, but that I still currently own is called the Moxie agency. And when I first started it 8 years ago, it was full service. We did everything. And then I had to have that hard conversation with myself of, okay, marketing is changing rapidly. You can be good and okay at everything, or you can be amazing and mind-blowing in one thing. So I was like, okay, where do we make the biggest impact for our clients? And it was in SEO, which is probably the least likable element of marketing because it's very analytical and it's hard and it changes all the time, and if you're not working in it consistently, you get lost, right? But the team that I have in place is amazing. The guys that I have working on our SEO are extremely intelligent. They're very analytical and they do just an amazing job. So I was like, okay, we definitely need to do that. But part of what I was finding, because we work with a lot of small business, is a lot of them don't have a branding guide. They don't have any sort of like solid branding or a website. So I was like, okay, we need to keep that piece too, because having a website and SEO go hand in hand, right? You can't do SEO if you don't have your website. So we kept those pieces of it, and we partnered up with a company for like programmatic advertising and social media ads and a few different things. So we have great partners for those elements. So when we have customers that are clients that come to us, we can work through those pain points for them as well. But we don't do that work. And then obviously I have Moxie blankets, and we've already talked about that, and it's amazing. I love it. And then last year I had a friend come to me and she's like, I really love having my restaurant, but it's just I need a partner, and I was like, oh yeah, you should definitely look into that, and didn't really go much further than that. But I love to bake. It's like one of my favorite things to do. I love to experiment with new recipes and different ingredients and all the things, right? So I've always wanted to open a bakery, but I don't have the bandwidth. There's no way I could open a bakery. A couple months after my friend had told me she was looking for a partner, she sent me a text message and she's like, hey, when I talk to you, I was like, okay, what's up? She's like, do you want to be my partner? And I'm like, wait, what? You're asking me this over text message? But instantly I was like, yeah, let's work through the details. I totally want to do it because, I wanted a bakery, not necessarily a full-blown restaurant, but yeah, let's do it. I can still do the same thing there, right? So we sat down and hashed through the details, and that was that, and it's been fun. I honestly am not there near as much as I would like to be. Like, I would love to be there a lot more. I just don't have the bandwidth to be there as often as I would like. And my son plays on a travel baseball team, and so we travel quite a bit for that, which doesn't allow for us to be there quite as often as I'd like. But, it's been awesome. My son works at the restaurant whenever he can. He busses tables and washes dishes, and it's been a great, it's been a great experience for him. My daughter helps out when she can, which is very, very limited she's got an extremely large school load, and she's an athlete as well. That girl runs track. She's a hurdler, so that takes up quite a bit of time too. So she doesn't get to work in the restaurant quite as bit, but she does help with Moxie blankets, which is awesome. So they both, it's been nice to see them both get that work ethic at a young age. But anyhow, those are the three businesses. They're all very, very different. But I'm building my empire.
How many businesses do you want to own someday? Do you have like a number in your head?
No, not necessarily. And honestly, it changes from time to time. When I started Moxie Blankets, I was like, okay, I think once I really get Moxie Blankets going, I'll probably sell the Moxie agency. But then I haven't done that, and I don't know that I will, because I'm like, that's a well-oiled machine. We have such a great process. I mean, it's a moneymaker. Why sell that, right? And with Moxie Blankets, I think if we grew big enough and the right offer came in, I would look into selling that. But in a couple of years, that could totally change too. And the restaurant, I love the restaurant, so probably won't sell that. But adding anything else in, probably not. I'm also on the board for a couple nonprofits, and so that takes up a lot of time as well. So I don't know that I would implement any more businesses right now with the current workload. If I were to sell one, maybe look into something else. But as of right now, there will be not adding in anything else right now. In order for me to be effective in every business, I'm at the max.
Okay. Well, and you're aware of that, right? Which I think so many of us having that awareness and being like, hey, this is what I want my life to look like, and I can't take on anything else. So this is it gives you boundaries. It gives you things to operate around and parameters to say, okay, if I need to do something else, then something else has to shift or change. And these are what they could potentially be. Yeah,
absolutely. And, I love to work. I love business. I love most things about it. So I figure, my daughter goes off to college in the fall, and then, I still have several years with my son, but once he's off doing, his own thing too, I'm like, I can start any business I want. I'm going to have so much time.
So much time. Yeah. People don't understand these sports these days are just unbelievable how much time they take of the athletes and the whole family. I mean, it's fascinating.
It's a huge, my son's baseball right now is a huge time commitment. We're traveling extensively, and it's not just, a couple hour drive. It's flights. We're flying to different places, and actually his team was recently invited to a baseball tournament in the Dominican Republic this summer. So, that's going to be amazing. And I think we're there for 9 days, something like that. And so it's a huge time commitment, financial commitment, but I love it. I really do. I would, if I had to do it or have another company to be able to pay for it, I would do it in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even think twice, because it's a ton of fun, and his coaches are amazing, and the teammates are amazing, the parents, it's awesome, and he loves it.
So what advice would you give to a new entrepreneur, like somebody who's getting into entrepreneurship and looking back from when you started, and what if you knew now?
Don't ever let anybody tell you what you can or cannot do. Somebody's inability to see your value is not your fault. If they can't see it, that is on them. Do not let anybody ever tell you what you're capable of.
I like that one.
Yeah, there were a lot of times where people looked at me like I was crazy, because I don't often use the term single mom, because a lot of people associate that with hardship and too many restraints, right? But I've been a single mom my entire mom career, So sometimes we have to learn lessons the hard way. Sometimes we have to learn them twice, in my case, but that's okay.
It happens.
And so people were like, well, you need a steady job. You need a steady income. You need to work a 9 to 5. You need. need. That's all I heard, right? Those people had no idea what I needed. I did not need to be in an office from 9 to 5 and a steady paycheck. I needed adventure. I needed excitement. I needed to have my own businesses. I needed so much more than that. So when I can't even tell you the amount of negativity that just was thrown my way constantly. I understand that if I don't work and make money, my children do not eat. I understand that. But I also know and understand myself, and I understand that I am a just straight up hustler. I will do what it takes to get things done, right? I know myself, and people who don't know me, that's fine. They didn't get it, right?
Or they're like trying to give you advice from their perspective, right? What they would be worried about. They're trying to protect you. I think at the beginning of any pursuit, you should expect some resistance from the people that care about you, because they're trying to keep you safe from what they know, right? And they're not looking at it from the inside where you're like, no, this is my heart, this is my fire, this is what inspires me to go, and I have to do me so that I can be good in all the roles that I play.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. And the people who really, truly knew me knew that there was just no stopping me. So it was nothing but encouragement, right? They were like, okay, work through it. You're good, and everything is great. And I have people in my life now that are just extraordinary. I can go to them at any time and be like, today was really hard. I just need you to hug me and tell me that I'm pretty. And they're more than happy to do that.
But I love that because you're asking for exactly what you need so that people can give it, right? And the more that we're honest with, this is exactly what I need, then the more we can receive exactly what we need and proceed. I don't think it's a negative. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, my kids do take the brunt of the hard days, because some days are really, really hard, owning a business and multiple businesses. And most days I kick butt, but there are some days where I get my butt kicked and I'll come home grumpy and my kids, oh man, that's something that I would also recommend to new entrepreneurs is don't take it home with you. Don't take it out on your spouse or your kids and that's really hard. That has been a struggle for me, and something that I have to work on all the time. And not that I'm mad at them because work was hard, but I'm just very I'll be very snippy, or I'll get upset over the stupidest things like socks in the middle of the floor, or the toilet seat not being down. I will get really quick to be like, well, why didn't you do that? And just silly things I don't need to get upset about, right? So just, as best as you can, don't take that, not necessarily anger, but don't take that hard day home with you. For me, I don't like to work at home. It's very rare that I work at home because that's where I want my peace to be. I want my family to be. I don't want to take my work home with me, because then it becomes, oh, well, I'm just going to work real quick. I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do this. And I'm not perfect at it because I have a phone, I check my email constantly, or I'm creating, marketing pieces from, you can have Photoshop on your phone now, or Canva. So it's really easy to create, social media graphics just from your phone. And it's awesome. It's amazing when I'm, waiting for my son to get out of baseball practice. But when I'm at home, I want to be with my kids. I want to be present for them. I know my time is super limited with them. So
yeah. And so you're making sure that physical boundary helps you hold the mental boundary, right? And all of us have different things that we need to use. I used to have a long drive home from work. And then when we moved closer to work, I realized really quickly, oh, that long drive was actually a way for me to unwind and go from job A to job B, right? Or persona 1 to persona 2. And so just recognizing that self in yourself and being like, oh, this is what I need so that I can show up as my best self, and giving it to you. I just rearranged my schedule so that I could work out before I got home. So I just had a little more space between the two different positions.
Yep. That is 100% me too. And if I don't have time to work out before I go home because I have other obligations, then I like to listen to a podcast, or I like to listen to a book, or something to take me out of one space and put me into a completely different space. Or a lot of time, like I'll call my dad and I'll just like just chit chat about absolutely nothing, or to my dad, and just kind of have just a very non-work related conversation.
Yeah. No, we've covered all kinds of things, right? Like from the businesses to managing kids to starting a business. How do you take care of you in all of this? Make sure you're at your best.
Yeah, I throw pottery. I love to throw. I will go to the pottery studio. I'm actually going to the pottery studio later today. And I will go and make and create mugs and bowls and planters and whatever I'm feeling that day. That's a huge release for me, and I would seriously do it every day if I had the time. But I can go in there, I can listen to music. The gal who owns the pottery studio is by far one of my favorite people, and we can talk business, we can just chit chat about what's going on in life. I mean, it's just such a great atmosphere, and I love to throw that. It's relaxing regardless of what kind of day I've had.
I get it.
And outside, I love to be outside. That's, take that back. I do not love being outside when it's cold and snowy. I do love being outside when it's sunny.
Yeah, well, we have our typical Utah summers. They're fantastic, right? But it's this endless winter that we're a little over at the moment.
So in the spring, summer, fall, I will be outside as much as humanly possible. I love to go and work from like coffee shops that have little patios. That's probably one of my favorite things to do, because I'm outside enjoying nature and the air and the sunshine, but I'm also working, and I get so much done when I work outside.
Okay, so I want you to share, what is one thing that you do when things are not going well for you to flip your script into something positive that we can share with the audience and they can maybe try to implement at home?
Yeah, I go to the gym.
Okay.
When I need to be really aggressively let something out, I will go and work. For me, I'm a very physical person, so I have to literally feel it leaving my body. So I have a whole boxing setup in my house, because I physically have to punch something to get rid of it, right? I have to physically let go of whatever it is I'm holding on to. So but then my gym is just up the street from my office, and sometimes that's easier, so I'll just pop in there and I do hot work. So it's 15-minute segments, and you do spin or row in 130 degree sauna box. So I'll jump in one of those, I usually do 2 of those, a spin and a row or whatever. And I literally sweat out literally everything, anything toxic. I just get rid of, and that works really well for me. And, sometimes that happens at 11 or 12 in the middle of the day, and I go and do that, and I have to come back to the office and I'm a sweaty mess, but that's okay, because I feel better.
Exercising in a hot box, which sounds absolutely magical. And I don't know why I've never heard of this before now, but now I'm trying to think of where there's one close to me, and that's not anywhere that I can think of.
It's called Hotworks, and it's amazing. It really is. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It takes some time to get used to, because it's insanely hot, and the first couple weeks you feel like you can't breathe. But once you get used to it, oh man, your body feels great.
Yeah, I love to detox things. That's amazing. We've learned so much today, right? Taking care of yourself, running businesses, setting boundaries, the benefits of being able to let your kids participate when you own a business, and then knowing that this is the season that you have in your kids' athleticism. So in the future, you'll be able to maybe take on other things, but right now you're just enjoying where you're at, which is a lesson that all of us have to kind of plug into a little bit more.